Hey there, everybody. Meteorologist Rebecca Sweet here. I am so excited about today's topic because both William and I, who are in here, really know nothing much about it. It's golfing, and we're getting into that time of year when more people are going to be out doing some golf, and we are joined with Braxton Hunter. So, Braxton, first and foremost, just kind of lay out like what you do here in Knoxville when it comes to golfing.
So first off, I'm the director of instruction at Fairways and Greens Golf Center. So I give golf lessons, teach golf every day.
Yeah.
Really to all levels. I have kids all the way up to, we'll say, way advanced senior citizens, and it's just an enjoyable hour that I spend with each person that we'll say trusts their time with me. So it's pretty cool.
So you're basically saying that you could probably teach William and I how to golf.
Oh, absolutely.
How long
No
do you
question.
think it would take?
Maybe more than an hour.
Ah,
maybe a few sessions.
it would probably take quite a few sessions, maybe a couple different drinks as
Actually,
well.
I've seen your swing. I've
Yes!
seen your swing before, so I don't. Maybe not that. It won't
think
be that bad.
Maybe the madder I get, maybe the better I would be at it. So Braxton, how many years have you been golfing? Like, what's your experience leading up to this level? Because you've done some competitive golfing as well.
Yeah, so 42 years old, and I've basically played since I was 5.
Wow.
Played competitively since I was 9 years old, so however long that's been now. Professional since 2007, and I played what's called the mini tours, which is like, in my day it was called the Hooters Tour.
Okay.
It was sponsored by the restaurant Hooters, which was kind of funny, but at the same time,
We love their wings.
yeah, good ones. And basically tried to get on the top level. Very difficult to do. There's so many great players, and I kind of transitioned into the golf pro world where, I worked for a long time at Holston Hills Country Club.
Yeah.
And that's kind of considered my second home in a sense. Kind of grew up out there and worked there for a while, and then just really enjoyed teaching people and spending time with each person, kind of one-on-one, just like we're doing right here in a sense. And
what makes
really,
you a professional golfer though? Like, what quote unquote, when do you reach that status?
Yeah, it's kind of different with different people in a sense. Like with my PGA of America certification, you have to go through basically a process that involves some schooling. It's almost like getting a master's degree.
Okay.
And then they do what's called a playing ability test. So you have to play to a certain level to be a PGA professional.
Dang.
Now, you could declare, even though you hadn't really ever played hardly at all, you could declare yourself as a professional golfer.
William, should that be our extra title? Professional golfers on the side.
Definitely.
There's no way I pick up a golf
I
club
mean, I
and
could
do
see
any sort of
William
anything.
says he has a good swing out at Top Golf, so I could see this, potentially going somewhere. So anybody could be a professional golfer, is what you're saying.
Basically.
But it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to get to that point.
Yes.
Okay, so Braxton, this is a weather chat and stuff. So ideally, if you were to have like the perfect day of golfing, like the perfect day, what would it look like for you?
I mean, perfect for me would be somewhat kind of like what I have on right now in the morning, like a little bit of a soft layer.
Yeah.
Shorts, and being able to take that layer off by about 10 in the morning. So I would say something in the neighborhood of low in the kind of high 50s, low 60s, and then a perfect day would kind of be that mid to high 70s to 80 degrees.
Perfect.
Which sounds kind of like today.
Kind of like today. So there's a few little factors coming into play with like today's forecast, and we'll go over our golf forecast for today. But how much does, in your experience, like wind and like humidity, like does that impact the game of golf? Like, does it impact the grass? Does it impact your swing? Like, do you look into that before, let's say, you were doing a competition?
Absolutely. I mean, the weather's probably one of the most important factors in golf. And as far as, if you go to wind is the most unpredictable just because of the wind gust you'll get. Probably the most difficult element that's out of your control.
Yeah.
So, you could get up on a hole, hit a really good shot. If a wind gust comes, it could turn out poorly.
Because you wouldn't know which way it would go, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And or how strong or kind of if it dies down a little bit, kind of it can trick you pretty easily.
Yeah.
the temperature affects how far the ball goes. So the hotter, the farther it goes, the colder, the shorter it goes. And
Okay.
most of your amateur golfers don't really factor that in quite enough. You know, they'll come to me and say, I'm hitting the ball really short
Yeah.
in the wintertime. And a few factors. Number one, the temperature itself allows the ball to go farther if it's warmer, colder or shorter if it's colder.
Yeah.
And then the ground conditions, because of either if it's rained, the grass this time of year, especially the golf course grass, doesn't dry out very quickly.
Okay.
And the ball won't roll very far. So in contrast, if it's wet, if it's dry,
Yeah.
it gets pretty firm because the ground doesn't have much underneath it in a sense. The grass is thinner.
Makes sense.
If it's firm, it's rolling. So a lot of factors go into that, and just it's crazy if you
So
think
if
about
I
it.
ever have like a bad golfing game, can I just blame it on the weather, you think?
Well,
Maybe?
especially you.
I
Absolutely.
know. Just give it a little bit of an excuse there. So when is the Masters coming up? Because we're nearing that, aren't we?
Yeah. So Masters week actually starts next week.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So a week from Thursday, they'll tee off for the first tournament round.
And there's been like historically, hasn't there been some Masters tournaments where like the weather has had a pretty big impact
Oh,
on like
absolutely.
the turnout? Will they still play? Like, will you still play golf, or will like the Masters program? Like, what is the end point of when they're like, no, the weather's too bad, we're not going to do this?
So any dangerous situation, thunderstorms, they'll clear the golf course. That's probably the first one.
Yeah.
Second one would be rain to the point where the water's basically covering areas
Yeah,
where
okay.
where you can't play. And then I would say there's no extreme cold situation there, just because it's the time of year in Augusta where
Yeah.
it's past their last frost, and very rarely has it been that cold. Like normally, kind of that perfect golf weather in a sense is what they get in Augusta
Yeah.
this time of year.
Which
So
is wonderful.
and it's kind of for us golfers, like the Masters is the start of spring. I mean, we'll call it the golfing calendar start to spring.
Yeah. So from that point on, I mean, you're like, okay, it's time to go. It's ready to go. Do you golf all year long?
So I will touch my clubs all year, yes. And I'll say this, in the past few years, we've added at Fairways and Greens indoor simulators, TrackMan simulators. So I'll probably hit more since then than I would have in the past.
Yeah.
I'll play if it's reasonable. Like, I'm not going to be out there if it's 35 degrees and
Yeah.
the wind's blowing, but like it's definitely something that's in our area. It's a 12-month sport.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
we have good weather, as you know, throughout the entire year.
You can get highs in the 70s in
Yeah.
December, which we all love those days. Okay, so Braxton, we're kind of taking a look at some of the pictures of you. Is this you doing some lessons right now?
Oh yeah, that's a good and that's actually in a lesson. That wasn't a frame.
Oh, really?
I think we had like some professional photography come out that
Oh,
day,
that's so
but
fun.
it was an actual lesson. That guy was so nervous too.
And you work on like everyone's swings and stuff, right? And just like
Yeah.
stance and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
This is me in a tournament. I don't know. I want to say that was the Tennessee State Open, maybe
Yeah.
last year, maybe year before last.
Are you planning on competing anymore, you
Oh
think?
yeah, I compete. I play all of our what's called our Tennessee PGA section. So that's
Okay.
like all the PGA professionals or people that work in the golf industry. We have our own kind of tournament series. So
fun.
I'll play pretty much all those. So I still love to compete.
Do you walk or do you drive a cart?
On those, we ride most of them.
Okay.
There's a couple of exceptions where we'll walk.
Nice.
And I'm a purist in a sense. I kind of like walking. Like,
Really?
Yeah. It's
Do you get a feel for it? Like when you're out there, do you just like, analyze
yeah, I
the
just think
situation?
it like I think it just brings you like back to the being outside. I mean, if you ask me, part of why I love what I do is I'm outdoors a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of, getting a ton of vitamin D, I can
Yeah.
feel that when I don't get it, like in the wintertime, like you mentioned, in a sense, in the winter, it's not quite as,
Yeah.
like, when it gets this time of year, it kind of,
You get excited.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so speaking of which, we're showing our forecast. This is for today. So temperature-wise, you're kind of seeing some of the temps, upper 70s, lower 80s. The only factor for today is we may have a little bit of a breezier wind out of the southwest. So what's your thoughts on today's golfing forecast?
I mean, typical late March, early April, where when it's warm, it's windy.
Yeah.
Like we have a ton of
100%.
that in our area, like where the warm weather equals wind.
Yeah.
So, depending on how much wind, it definitely adds an element of difficulty to what I do and which direction the wind's blowing.
Yep.
If a certain player is struggling with a certain shot direction and the wind's blowing that direction, it's sometimes pretty difficult to work on it. So,
But overall, what rating would you give today?
I'd say it's pretty good. I mean, when you add the sun in, like, so the worst to me is when it's cold and cloudy,
Yeah.
because it can be, for an example, in the wintertime, like it can be in the high 30s, low 40s and sunny,
Yeah.
and it feels great. If it's like 55 and windy and cloudy, and that kind of like, you feel the humidity a little bit off the
Just
ground,
stings.
that's like the cold humidity,
Yeah.
it's no good at all. So
I feel like golf experts are basically like meteorologists half the time because you're surrounded in the elements every single day.
yeah, and I think even I'll go down this road a little bit. When I was at Holston Hills, like we got weather questions all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
and,
crazy.
And I'll throw one guy under the bus. He lived on the golf course, and he would call the pro shop and ask what the weather was.
That's
It's like,
crazy.
you can kind of walk just right outside
Yeah,
your
go
door.
outside and go check it out. Have you
Yeah.
ever been caught in a bad case of like weather scenario out golfing?
Yeah, I would say the worst is thunderstorms.
Okay.
And just being able to get off the golf course safely. I mean, because you've heard stories. That is one thing that has happened where people have gotten either killed or, significantly injured by getting struck by lightning.
All it takes is bringing up that, I don't even what do you call it? The golfing, what is that thing called?
The
Club.
club.
There
Yeah,
you go.
there you
I'm
go.
like, what is the
Yeah,
word that
you're
I'm thinking
close.
of?
Good job, Becca.
I know this is why I chose the subject of golf. I was like, Braxton, teach me some more. Hey, Braxton,
That's why we're here.
we totally appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else you want people to know about where you're located at, or if you have any openings for golf lessons,
Yeah,
maybe at Springs? And
Absolutely.
yeah, tell me more.
So a few things. Number one, lessons. You don't have to be a member at Fairways and Greens to take lessons. So the public is welcome. Probably the easiest way is just to go to our website, which is www.fairwaysandgreens.com, and then my tabs under one of the teachers or instructor tabs. Feel free to come check our facility out. And also, this is not totally foreign to me. It is with the cameras, but Jimmy Himes and I have co-hosted a golf talk show on the Sports Animal for
Ooh, okay.
the last. This is actually going into our 7th. We just started our 7th season together, and we do it Monday evenings at 7 p.m. And we've had a lot to talk about with some of the stuff that's going on in the golf world. So it's been pretty fun to do. Just to have a chat, it's kind of like you and I are having right now.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun ride.
So maybe if you didn't get enough of your golf fix this morning from Braxton, you can listen to him again. That's Monday nights at 7.
That's right, on the Sports
Perfect.
Animal.
Thanks, Braxton, for coming in. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.